Welcome back to another episode of World Bigfoot Radio.
And we are back with the amazing Kelly Shaw for the year-end wrap-up, R.M.S.O. year in review. And as you all know, Kelly likes to show up here once a year and give us the big updates on all the cool stuff him and the Rocky Mountain Sasquatch organization have been doing over the previous year, which is always epic, exciting, entertaining, and enlightening. And it will be no different this year. And first off, before we get going, I'd like to remind you all that me and Kelly are actually over on that thing they used to call Twitter now, X. And come on over and check it out and hang out with us. And Kelly posts hilarious Bigfoot memes all the time, and I occasionally do. And we post links to all the stuff that we have coming up. So if a certain platform decides not to let you know about it, you can always find out what's going on just by coming on over to X and hanging out with us there. We'll be posting all the links to stuff that are upcoming. And of course, with Kelly, he's everywhere. He's got his own blogs and he's got his own groups all over the damn place. All I've got over there on Facebook right now is Montana Bigfoot Project. Come on over and sub that, and you'll see everything that Kelly puts out, because he's also a mod on my group over there, and he posts all his stuff there too. And then if you want to just find Kelly independent of all the stuff that we're both on, where can we find Kelly at?
Rocky Mountain Sasquatch on YouTube, and then Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization on Twitter, on Facebook, on Blogspot, and even on that crazy platform TikTok. But you're gonna get the full experience on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook.
There you go. And for my followers that don't already know, don't forget I'm also on Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey. So you can get all of your favorite awesome cool shows over there too. And you can find mine there as well. So anyway, let's get back to what we're here for. Hey Kelly, welcome back to the show, man. I haven't seen you for a while. How's life treating you? I know this is kind of the down seasons because the weather's stinky and it's hard to get out and do a lot of camping and fighting driving up into the mountains where the actual activity is during the winter. It's all snowed in, you can't get there. So
yeah, I've been to a couple of Bigfoot hot spots this last month. I know the snow's deep, but there's been people seeing Bigfoot out near Oxford, Idaho, and then in Tibble Creek. I was out there a couple of weeks ago, hiking around in snow up to my knees. It is a rough part of the season. However, I don't think Bigfoot actually hibernates. And if they migrate, they don't migrate away from here. People have sightings at the tops of these passes, Indian Pass, North Ogden Divide Pass, middle of winter, 8 foot of snow. People are still seeing them.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you 100%. We don't have any data up here that points to them going anywhere other than difference in altitude. They're up higher during the summer and down lower during the winter. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think they hunker down a little bit But I don't know if they stay at the high elevations, but it's always shocking to me when these truck drivers get a hold of me going over these passes. Another one's Trapper Loops. I've had a couple of truck drivers get a hold of me that see the Bigfoot at the top of the pass in the middle of winter. And of course, these brown and black colored Bigfoot show up really well with the snow. So they're a little bit easier to spot. I don't know if they're staying up high or just traveling over the pass to one valley to the other. I can't imagine them staying up there for very long. There's not very much to eat unless they're into eating pine needles.
Yeah. Well, unless they already got their cave fully stocked and they're hunkering down there for the winter.
That could be it.
The other, option is that we've talked about this even recently about wolverines. If a wolverine wants to go somewhere, it goes in a straight line. And if that happens to be over the top of a mountain, they don't care. They go in the straight line over the top of the mountain. And Bigfoot are pretty rugged too. So it might be the same thing with them where it's like, well, I want to be on that valley on the other side of the mountain. I'm not going to go all the way around it.
Well, I had a wolverine sighting this summer, June, July, whatever it was. Jenny and I were heading from our base camp at the mouth of Sasquatch Canyon. We set up base camp there all the time, and we wanted to go up into oh gosh, what's it called? The south side of the Uintas. I think it's called Ice Cave Peak. It's behind Blind Frog Ranch.
Wow.
And we started investigating that place because they found footprints of Bigfoot on Blind Frog Ranch. They didn't put it on the show, but some of the guys that work on the ranch put it on their fan website and stuff. And I was like, oh my heck. So I just figured
instantly Kelly was there.
Well, and the first season, some of the activity going on that ranch, I was like, that's Bigfoot activity. And then they find the tracks, and I'm like, yep. So we've been going on expeditions up there. The Uinta Mountains is kind of like the epicenter of Bigfoot sightings in Utah. That mountain range has the biggest concentration of sightings. So we started going up there. Well, one of these days we were heading from Sasquatch Canyon to go up there, and we have to drive past Skinwalker Ranch. So for shits and giggles, kind of a novelty, we'd love to circle that ranch, and we usually circle it twice. We'll circle it counterclockwise once, and then clockwise back the other way, hoping to see something unusual. And this day we did. It's surrounded by Indian reservation, the Utes and all that. And anyway, we were circling it, and we were on the west side, and there's a bunch of giant boulder formations and stuff there. And I thought at first I saw this giant brown black bear working its ways through the boulders, and I started shouting to Jenny, pointing at it and stuff, and we're scrambling for a camera, and pretty soon we identify it as a giant brown colored wolverine. And by the time we got a camera on it and got stopped, it went behind this giant boulder that had a split down the middle, and it never showed itself again. Well, this is the Uinta Basin. I've never heard, I mean, wolverine sightings in Utah are rare. The DNR just barely started accepting this last decade that we might have wolverines here, because people like in Bountiful and North Salt Lake and stuff, some people have produced photographs of wolverines on their property, so they're starting to accept that they're here. Well, I've never heard of anyone seeing one in the Uinta Basin, so maybe I'm the first. But this thing was huge, and it's just right across the street from Skinwalker Ranch. And so I watched that show Skinwalker Ranch, and they're showing animals that have died of unusual circumstances. I'm like, well, maybe it's that big badass wolverine we saw.
Yeah, that could be a prime suspect, man. I'm telling you. And you can reliably believe that when Kelly says it's a wolverine, probably was, because he's seen one before, unlike most people who never get to see one. I've seen one in the wild too, and they're They're impressive critter.
That's the second Wolverine I've seen in the wild outside of a zoo or a preserve or whatever. The last one I saw was probably about 12 years ago out by Whitney Lake in the UNS. But anyway, we saw that, circled the ranch, blah, 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 and then went on our Bigfoot expedition. So that was the weirdest thing that we've ever saw with our own eyes by the ranch. And I just barely put out a video like a month ago about some other sinister, crazy stuff that we captured at the ranch. About a month later, we took Brody and his wife, Rhonda. They went on a Bigfoot expedition with us, and we were going to Hell's Canyon. There's a lot of Bigfoot sightings, vocalizations, and we have found a ton of footprints and stuff there. So we were going to go there and hike around. And his wife has never seen Skinwalker Ranch, and she's really into the paranormal subject. And so, she wanted to check it out. So we drove around it. And on the opposite side of the ranch, this time we were on the east side of the ranch. We'd already drove past and showed them where we saw the Wolverine and stuff the last time. And we get around to the other side, and there's this old abandoned homestead back in the trees. It's not on the ranch. It's probably about 500 feet off the ranch. And this Skinwalker Ranch is kind of a small ranch. It's 400 acres. And anyway, Rhonda's like wanting me to stop the car and everything, and she goes, I think that's homestead too, and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't think that's on the ranch. I think that's someone else's property. But we stopped and we took some photos. She grabbed a camera, I used a camera, and we took a bunch of photos and stuff. Well, anyway, I get home and I'm going, probably a week later, and I'm going through all of our footage and everything. And one of the photos, I see this speck up in the sky that's actually over Skinwalker Ranch. And so I zoom in on it and I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be an insect or a bird. Oh no, it is a saucer shaped UFO.
My God.
And yeah, and it's got a silverish top, and then the bottom of it's black. And the black bottom part, that part of the disc looks like it's bigger in circumference. And then it's got this silvery dome, and I'm like, oh wow, that's cool. It's just like the show. Some of the stuff that they catch on the show, we got that, and it's over the ranch, in the background over this abandoned homestead. Well, I wanted to see if I caught any more of these UAPs, UFOs. Back in the day when I was a kid, everybody called them unidentified flying objects, and now the correct term is unidentified aerial phenomenon, whatever. It's
No, they're still UFOs. They use UAP to describe things. It might be terrestrial that they just can't identify.
And Duke's going to show off some of this stuff on this video, because I've got a video out of it, and so he'll show you guys the highlights. Well, anyway, I started going through all the photos we took to see if we caught the UAP again somewhere, and we caught something else even weirder. Something sinister. Looks like this little devil looking creature that's it looks like it's sitting with its legs crossed and its knees up, and it's kind of hunched forward, sitting like that, and it's staring at us taking pictures. And it's got this devilish looking face and pointy ears, and it's just freaky.
One of our favorite Bigfoot hotspots to investigate is along the south slopes of this unique mountain range. Getting to and from many of these places, we drive through the Uinta Basin that is well known for paranormal activity. One of the major epicenters of this activity is the famous Skinwalker Ranch. As a novelty, we circle that ranch several times a year, hoping to see something unusual. The last 2 times we were there, we saw something kind of unusual for the area, and we also captured on camera a UAP, defined as unexplained aerial phenomenon. The former term when I was growing up that was used was UFO, defined as unidentified flying object. Jen and I saw a giant brown-colored wolverine just outside Skinwalker Ranch on the west side. It was so big that I thought it was a large brown-colored black bear. then realized after seeing its tail that it was in fact a massive wolverine making its way through a large boulder field before disappearing behind one of the giant boulders to never be seen again. Wolverines are very rare for Utah, and I have never heard of a wolverine being spotted in the Uinta Basin. The last time Jen and I were there, we had Brody and Rhonda with us. When we got to the east side of the ranch, we took a few photos of an abandoned house and some vacant buildings on the old homestead that's less than 500 feet from the Skinwalker property line. When we got home, we noticed a saucer-shaped UAP or UFO above Skinwalker Ranch. Zooming in on the object that appeared in just one photo, it appears to be a silvery light color on the top half and a dark, almost black color on the bottom. The darker bottom half seems to be larger in circumference than the silver-topped dome area of this strange craft, UAP, or UFO if you will. Searching through our photos to see if this craft appears in any of the others, we discovered something creepy and almost sinister outside the vacant ranch house. It's right under one of the windows and appears to be staring at us while we were snapping photos. It's devilish looking to appearance in me. Not sure what it is, but very interesting on a day that we capture some sort of UFO that is either hovering or flying over the famous Skinwalker Ranch. Hope you enjoyed a look at what we consider something strange and unusual during our drive to one of our Bigfoot expedition locations. Keep on watching. We're going to keep on squatching.
That's something else. So all the years that we've been circling that ranch, that wolverine was the weirdest thing that we saw, but now we've captured a UAP and some devilish looking thing under the window of that abandoned homestead. And this abandoned homestead, most of those windows are broke out, and I think the windows that it's sitting under, I think part of those are broke out, but weird. You have to see it yourself. It's really cool.
Makes you wonder why they abandoned the place. You know what? Just because there's saucers in the sky and goblins hanging out nearby. I think I'd probably leave too. As long as it's just Bigfoot showing up, slapping the house occasionally, okay. But goblins hanging out, saucers, no, I'm not going to live there. You know, actually, one of my favorite weird things that you guys ever captured was also near there. You were talking earlier about the Blind Frog Ranch. And you guys were up above it where that little lake was, checking out everything up there, looking for Bigfoot tracks. And all of a sudden you see this little blue glow. Jenny whips out her camera that she luckily had set to take a short video sequence. And you guys got this weird blue orb right on the shore of the lake.
There's a lot of unexplained activity going on at Blind Frog Ranch that is blamed on paranormal activity, if you will, associated with skinwalkers because of the proximity of this ranch to Skinwalker Ranch. One example are deer being found with their heads being ripped off. I knew Blind Frog Ranch was closer to a Bigfoot sighting hotspot than Skinwalker Ranch. Maybe some of the activity on Blind Frog is from an upset rogue Sasquatch. We travel to Skinwalker Ranch, then to Blind Frog Ranch, and measure less than 17 miles from each other in the Uinta Basin. We then travel into the Uinta Mountains above Blind Frog Ranch. We officially enter these mountains about a half a mile north of Blind Frog Ranch and begin to search for Bigfoot activity to see if we can find evidence of a Sasquatch traveling to or from these mountains and Blind Frog Ranch. On the second day of the exploration, we do find suspect Bigfoot activity above the ranch, including structures, a bedding spot, and Bigfoot-shaped tracks. At 10,500 feet, we find a cliff overlook where we can see Skinwalker Ranch 23 miles away in the Uinta Basin and Blind Frog Ranch less than 5 miles away. At the end of the second day investigating a nearby lake for Bigfoot tracks, Jenny films a turquoise-color large blue orb flying over a pond next to the lake. She quickly took a photo of it, and then it was gone. Luckily, Jenny was using a camera that she set up to record a few seconds of video whenever she snaps a photo. A few seconds is all that was needed because the orb flew around for a few seconds and then vanished. I am going to zoom in on the photo and then the video to have a closer look at the orb. The photo is better quality because it is around 20 megapixels and will give us the clearest look at this phenomena. The video is around 2.5 megapixels, but is amazing in its own right because it shows that this orb is flying over the pond next to the lake. Okay, here comes the video of zoomed in on the orb. If you'll notice, the more you zoom in, it loses quality, it becomes pixelated. So I only zoomed in to the point where it still looks good and you can still identify what's going on. The pictures were much better. Okay, Skinwalker Ranch calls these blue colored orbs, and this one's turquoise in my opinion. They call them blue meanies. And the reason is these orbs have been seen chasing their cattle, so blue meanies. Native Americans in the area say that the blue colored ones are spirits. I don't know what they are. This is in a Bigfoot sighting hotspot, so thought we would bring attention to it. We're up investigating Bigfoot and the phenomena that goes on at Skinwalker Ranch and Blind Frog Ranch that is nearby. It's not too far from these mountains and this lake. I don't know if this is the same phenomena going on at both places. Just kind of strange. So thought we would bring this to you, the results of our investigation. I don't know if this is an energy ball, if it's something natural, normal. I don't know what it is, but it's amazing that Jenny captured this.
Yeah, she didn't even realize her camera was set up like that with the photos. So she took photo of it, and it ended up giving us like a 3-second video of it.
Woohoo!
Yeah, so you got to see it fly around a little.
Yeah, that's. I just had one of my friends up in Alaska who's got closed circuit TV on his house for security. Had this in November, all kinds of orbs and stuff flying past his camera up there. And you can't see them on a regular camera. When you turn to infrared, then they all showed up. And he goes out there and he can't see anything with his naked eye, and he comes back in again. Well, something out there kept tripping the camera, and it was going off for like almost 3 hours filming all this stuff. And then he started looking closely, and way at the back of the parking lot, there's like a roof that they've got there to put vehicles and stuff underneath. At the very back of it, there's this huge Bigfoot-shaped shadow back there in part of it. So that's really strange. And then my friends plug for them on Midwest Night Watchers. They've got the same setup where they got cameras outside the house and they can change the angle and everything because they're looking at aerial phenomena. Well, they had it on the other night, and they had all kinds of orbs flying past the camera. You know, it looks like what you would see in the summer when you got an outdoor light on at night and there's bugs flying around it and stuff. But it's 16 degrees and there's a foot of snow on the ground. Those aren't bugs, whatever the hell they were. So
Right.
There's weird stuff that people are catching like that.
Yeah, up on Monte Cristo, where there's in an area where I know 7 people personally that have had Bigfoot sightings up on the top around some of these mountaintop springs at over 9,000 feet elevation, and there's over a dozen Bigfoot sightings that have been reported up there. And then I know a bunch of people personally because this is only 65 miles from my house, and so I know a lot of people that have seen it up there. So I keep a bunch of cameras up there. Well, in this one particular spot, this one year, we caught softball-sized orb flying around in front of the camera, and
Wow.
I didn't post it for the longest time, and then some of my friends that are into it. It's like, it's kind of your responsibility to put everything you find out there. And I'm like, well, I don't think Bigfoot and orbs have anything to do with each other. And it's like, so you really need to put that out there. You caught it. Well, I've never caught orbs out of the 20 something cameras that we own, that we keep out there everywhere. I've never caught orbs, just on this one particular camera. And then like 5-6 years later, we caught an orb on that camera again, except for this, the first time we caught an orb, it was the size of a softball.
Right.
And then the second time, it was more like the size of a golf ball. So we've caught two different sized orbs there, and it's a Bigfoot sighting hotspot. Not saying Bigfoot has anything to do with orbs, but those cameras have caught orbs at nighttime.
Kelly Shaw, Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization. Derek and I started this organization in 2007. So we've been searching for Bigfoot seriously for about 11 years. Shortly after we started the organization, Brody and Jenny joined up to help us search for Bigfoot. Over the years, we've experienced a lot of weird and really neat things. Like we have found dozens and dozens of Bigfoot tracks over the years. We've documented many in our videos. We've casted several. We've even heard vocalizations. We've recorded vocalizations, and we've seen some pretty weird things. We've had some terrifying experiences where, like Jenny and I, we got bluff charged and harassed for a couple of hours while we were casting a footprint by an unseen creature, what have you. So we've had a lot of crazy experiences. One weird thing that keeps happening, and I'm heading into an area right now, it's on top of Monte Cristo. It's a 7-time Bigfoot sighting hotspot. I know 7 people that have had this Bigfoot sighting over the last 35-40 years. Well, something really weird's happened at the same game camera. We keep 5 game cameras up here year around. We have the last 6 or 7 years. However, the last 4 years, at one spot, we've captured an orb twice. Actually, a couple of orbs on video. Now, I do not believe personally that Bigfoot and these orbs have any relation. However, it's strange enough, and now that it's happened twice over the last 4 years, I think it's interesting enough to show and talk about it. Now, these orbs have been captured on 2 different game cameras. 4 years ago, I had a wild game camera and captured it on video. And then 4 years later, just recently, captured it again on a stealth game camera. Even though it's captured on 2 different cameras, both these cameras were at the same exact spot, tied to the same tree and nearly set up in the same direction. The first set of orbs was about the size of a softball. And then when we captured it again just recently, I don't know, probably about the size of a 50-cent piece. And there's 2 orbs, and one of them's kind of moving around on one side of the orb, and then it eventually flips over to the other side of the orb that's holding still and starts moving around again. People have given me many reasons why this could happen, and none of them checks out. I've challenged everyone. You get a video, make a video, and you show me these orbs, how you explain them. One of the explanations is a piece of dew or sand on a strand of spider web. Well, I have found that spider web lights right up, and as a matter of fact, I will put spider web at the end of this video, a spider making a web, so you guys can see how it lights up, and then you can judge for yourself. And if you can debunk this, send me your video. I would like to see an explanation. See, here's the orbs from 4 years ago. These are the size of a softball. Now, I don't see any filament strand of a web at all here. And in my experience doing this, I've had game cameras for about 8 years. At nighttime, the filaments of a spider web just light right up. This is nighttime. Where's the web? There isn't any. Okay, now up on the top right, you see two orbs up there, about the size of a 50-cent piece, maybe bigger. It's on the one side and then eventually flips over to the other side. Yeah, where's the filaments of a spider web? Alright, and now this is the softball size. I'm showing you the couple of videos before we captured those orbs, and then the couple after, so you can see what happened before and what happened after. You know, no spider web. And really, any of you guys got an explanation? I don't want to hear about it. I want to see it. Send me a link to your video explaining how this happened and show me. I want examples if you guys can figure out how this orb was made. I don't want to hear the comments. I want to see examples. So I'll be more than happy to see links in the comments. The softball size orbs, we put those out 4 years ago, and people sent me lots of photos, this and that, trying to explain them off, and none of them checked out for me, and they were just photographs. I want to see video. You know, I'm not saying that this isn't something natural, but it is definitely weird. Okay, so you saw the stuff before that the camera captured before these orbs that are moving around, and you got to see a deer and its eye shine. You know, and a deer's eye is about the size of a boulder. You know, when you're a kid and you played marbles and the ones they call boulder. The deer's eyeball, in my opinion, is about the size of one of those boulders. And, you know, this is like 5 times as big. Okay, and this is the next morning after those weird orbs were captured. And I'm sorry, there's nothing really here but birds, but I kind of want to show you guys what happened before and after the little orb ordeal. Okay, and now coming up is the orbs that we just captured recently. This is the video before we actually captured them, probably the night before. And then this is in the morning. And a deer, you saw the butt of a deer go by. That's what set the camera off, and so, you know, without the camera being triggered, I doubt these little orb thingies would have set the camera off. So we're really lucky that deer set it off so we could see this going on, whatever it is. And like I says, I don't think it has anything to do with Bigfoot, but it's weird. We captured it. You know, I'm not going to sit and ignore it because people think I'm weird because I have the video evidence. I mean, look at that. And then this is afterwards. This is the very next video later on in the day. Alright, so that was weird enough. And now I want to show you what we think was probably a meteorite that dropped down into Indian Canyon near Skinwalker Ranch. We captured it on dash camera. Jenny and I was heading out on a Bigfoot expedition and having to travel at night. And this thing that looked like the size of SUV, and I'm sorry, the dash camera just does not do justice what we saw with our eyes, but it had white sparks and green sparks and blue sparks coming off the end, kind of forming a tail as it dropped down and disappeared into Indian Canyon. And that video's coming up, and it's pretty neat, near Skinwalker Ranch. Keep an eye on the moon on the upper left-hand side. The burning object, the ball of fire that was sparking off a tail of like sparks. It didn't look like flames to us, but it comes into frame underneath the moon. And then when it disappears over a mountaintop. Here it comes real soon, just below the moon. There it is.
This thing just shot through the sky right in front of us. It was bright green and had white sparks coming out the back of it. It was green.
Well, my first guess is like a meteorite.
Yeah, it looked like a big, but it was.
Yeah, it had sparks coming off the back of its tail. It had a tail, so it's like a comet or a.
But it had white sparkly, like a sparkler. It wasn't like a normal.
I saw mostly the tail as it was going on the other side of the mountain.
I mean, when it came right in front of, right here on the other side of the window.
That's a Skinwalker Ranch over there.
It's in that direction, yeah.
That's in the direction of Skinwalker Ranch. We saw some type of a UFO.
It was green. Like
it was huge.
It was a bright green ball, the same color as like a lime lollipop with white sparklers coming out the back.
Yeah, I saw some blues and some greens and even some reds.
I didn't see any red.
I saw a little bit of red. I don't know. We'll have to see what the video caught if it's on there.
Holy
Please,
crap.
I hope we caught it.
It was pretty high in the sky. I doubt this got it.
Make sure you watch to the end of this video. I'm going to put spider webs so you guys can see how those light up, and you guys can judge for yourself how we may have captured those orbs.
Well, I agree, and I appreciate your intellectual honesty that you actually posted it, because I've been out in the field with the Bigfoot for over 40 years, and I have never seen an orb with them ever. So that doesn't mean that there isn't some association between Bigfoot and orbs. It's just that I've never seen it. After over 4 decades, I've never seen it. So it probably isn't related to Bigfoot. As far as I could tell, it isn't. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm totally wrong and it is related. But the point is that this is weird phenomenon. And as long as we're out there studying one kind of weird phenomenon, We got another weird phenomenon maybe happening in the same area. Why not show people? Because it may
Right.
not be what we're actually out there researching. It may not even have any connection to it, but it's still really weird phenomenon, and that technically is kind of what we're out there researching.
Yeah, we
And
should show anything unusual that we find so that anybody that's into that subject collecting data, they can collect that from us.
exactly, and it may not be the main thing that we're interested in, but as long as we're collecting anything that might be relevant to their data set, we should put it out and give them a hand. I mean, maybe they'll be out doing UFO research and they'll have a Bigfoot come up and walk right through camp and get video of them. Hey, we'd like to see that.
Yeah, we had a night that was kind of disturbing. Jenny and I was in at our base camp, Sasquatch Canyon, and we're enjoying a campfire in October a couple of years ago, and Jenny used the outhouse, and on her way to the outhouse, she yells at me, Kelly, come here, you've got to see this. So I go down into the clearing, and the mountain behind the outhouse, there are these I thought it was just a single aircraft. The points of the tips of my fingers, there was these large orbish lights, and they were coming towards us, and they stopped over the top of the mountaintop, and I'm just sitting there staring at them, and they went like this, went like that, and they were in formation, but I thought it was a single craft at first, and just seeing the edges of it, complete a perfect square and gigantic. And at first, when it was coming towards us and started to hover, I was thinking helicopter, but there isn't a helicopter that big. If it was a single object, it would be the size of a football field, a square football field,
Right.
just gigantic. And it was completely silent. And we're just watching this thing, and Jenny's like, you need to go get your camera. And I'm just standing there mesmerized, and I'm thinking, if I go to the vehicle and get my camera out of there, I'm going to miss this. Well, anyway, the bottom, this one down here, all of a sudden, a few feet next to it, this giant spotlight turns on. And I've never seen a spotlight this bright in my life. It was like lighting up a baseball stadium is how bright it was. And it started scanning the mountain below it. Then it went over and started scanning the next mountain ridge over it and everything. And then the light turned off. And then the craft went back and forth. And I don't know what Jenny was thinking, but I thought it was a single craft. And then it stopped. And when it stopped, that's when it broke formation. These two dropped, and this one down here touches the top of the mountain and disappears. And then this one dropped down, touches the top of the mountain, disappears. And then these two over here dropped, disappeared, dropped, disappeared. And we're just memorized. Then I run and rush, grab the camera. This probably took about a minute and a half. Yeah, I went and grabbed a camera, and I grabbed our best night vision camera, and I turn it on, get it filming, and I hand it to Jenny, and I'm like, I'm going to start grabbing tripods and getting all of our cameras set up in case this happens again. And so anyway, we had 3 tripods with us. We got all the tripods set up, the cameras aimed at this mountaintop, and this mountaintop is probably only a mile behind where we're camping, and not very far. And so we got them all set up, and for the next like 3 hours, we watched that mountaintop with the cameras, and it never formed again, never took off. Don't know why it landed there. And then when we decided it was time to go to bed, we're getting ready for bed, and then that's when I got the creeps. I'm like, whatever that was landed behind us and didn't leave.
Yeah.
And so I didn't sleep very good that night, thinking, what the hell is with us on this mountain? Because her and I were the only ones camping there at the time. This was one of our last expeditions in October, and it was during the middle of the week, and I didn't see anybody else camping up there. And so, yeah, the next morning, as soon as the sun got up, man, I got up there and started zooming in with my cameras and stuff up there to see what's going on. I don't know what it was interested in, why it landed there, but Sasquatch Canyon is on the west side of the Uinta Basin. You just get a little bit past the forest Sasquatch Canyon, and then you get into the Uinta Basin. So I think we saw some of the paranormal activity that night that the Uinta Basin's famous for.
Could very well be. And I'd like to point out to everybody that was just listening to this story, if that had been a Bigfoot, Kelly would have been on that camera in a second, chasing after it, trying to get video of it. But he wasn't there to see a UFO or any weird aerial phenomenon, so it took him by surprise. And by the time he even thought about doing anything with the camera, it was too late to do it. So this is the same thing you run into with ordinary people when they see a Bigfoot for the first time. Why didn't you take a picture of it? Because they're standing there in shock. They're not thinking about, they might have a camera in their hand and they're not thinking about taking a picture because they're too busy being shocked.
Yep. I was afraid to miss something. And I was right. As long as all that lasted, I would have missed it all. If I would have ran to the vehicle was in the trees away from everything that was going on. By the time I got in there, got the camera and got back to that clearing where you could see it, the action happening, I'd have missed all that. So I wouldn't have got it on camera, and I went and had this creepy story. I mean, it's not creepy to you guys, but when you have to camp where that damn thing landed, it's kind of creepy.
And it's only walking distance for their, little aliens that might have been in it. You never know.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be really, really creepy.
Yep, that's at the mouth of Sasquatch Canyon. So there's kind of paranormal activities collide right there. In the 1970s, hunters from Price, Utah, they nicknamed that canyon Sasquatch Canyon because of all the sightings, footprints they find there, and it's still happening today. And then you get outside of that, 10 miles from there, you got Indian Canyon, and Indian Canyon's pretty famous. It's halfway between Sasquatch Canyon and Skinwalker Ranch. And that Indian Canyon, there's a lot of television documentaries where they interview people that say they have been chased by orbs, big old fiery orbs, big old energy orbs that race up next to their cars, hover above their cars, hover in front, follow behind them. It's caused traffic accidents. Few people have ran off the road trying to outrun these orbs. And I'm up and down that canyon all the time. As a matter of fact, my very first Bigfoot sighting was at the top of that canyon. Coming home from Colorado, we come through that canyon on the way home, and I saw a giant Bigfoot. He had to be 9-10 feet tall, just gigantic. That was on the other side of the gorge from us. There's a creek that runs down below, so the road crossed the way, and the Bigfoot was almost level with the road, and he was watching a bunch of boaters. There was 3 trucks, 3 boats that had pulled over, and he was watching all those people. And I'm screaming, Bigfoot, Bigfoot, and Jenny's driving. It's at the end of expedition, and I was burnt out on driving. So she's driving, and I'm screaming, Bigfoot, Bigfoot, stop, stop. And she's giving me this look like, yeah, right. And I'm like, no, pull over. It's right there. It's right there. And so she pulled over at the very first spot we could. And this Bigfoot, I'm staring at him, and he has cover between him and the 3 groups of people pulling those boats. So he has cover, and he's watching them. And by the time we got to where we could pull over, some trees got in the way. I roll out with the camera, get it filming, and I come out, and it's gone. So I sat and filmed that mountainside in case it was somewhere else, so the camera would pick it up, and I start heading towards these people. Well, the triangulation between us and the Bigfoot, the last time I saw it, and those people, they're about the same distance away from me now as that Bigfoot was the last time I saw him. So that gave me a good idea his size. You know, the largest guys in this group that are all talking. Yeah, we got diverted up this canyon. We wanted to go through Spanish Fork, but there was a giant wildfire that they shut the canyon down. So we weren't even supposed to be in that canyon, and neither were they, I'm sure. That's why they were all pulled over. It's like, how are we going to get home now? So I'm heading towards these people because I wanted to know if they saw it, but all their backs are to it and stuff. They're totally, have no
Yeah.
idea that this Bigfoot was sitting there observing them and stuff. And so it gave me a good idea. And this Bigfoot was like almost twice as tall as these biggest guys, and twice as wide, twice as thick. It was just huge. And so that canyon's known for paranormal activity. Well, anyway, at the bottom of the canyon on the Duchesne side of the canyon, Jack Osborne, his very first season of not paranormal, not Haunted Highway. It was the next show, his next series.
So this is Spawn of Ozzy we're talking about here.
Yeah, Jack Osborne's show. It's the very first season. He interviewed a guy at the base of that canyon that saw a Bigfoot while he was out on his horse tending the ranch, and he tried catching up to that Bigfoot on the horse, and the Bigfoot was able to outpace him on his horse until it got to cover, and he had no chance of finding it anyway. It was outpacing him out in the open. And I found out that this guy had seen this Bigfoot during the wintertime about 5 to 6 months before I saw the one at the top of the canyon. So it could have very well been the same Bigfoot. I'm guessing that a Bigfoot 9-10 feet tall might be able to outrun a horse, but that's what his claim was. It outran him and his horse. I think it's called Portals of Hell. First season of Portals of Hell. It's Jack Osborne's Skinwalker investigation. There's an intensely haunted house down there at the mouth of that canyon that used to be an Airbnb that some of the owners think that it may be skinwalker activity that haunts the house. And so they was there doing that investigation, and they stumbled upon a guy that had just saw a Bigfoot recently. So yeah, I saw my Bigfoot, and then a little while later that show come out, and I'm like, hey, someone within months of me saw a Bigfoot in the same place. So yeah, there's a lot of paranormal activity between Sasquatch Canyon, Indian Canyon, and Skinwalker Ranch, and then you get the Blind Frog Ranch, the Uinta Mountains, just a plethora of Bigfoot and other paranormal activity. And I feel like it's my duty to keep up on what's going on at Blind Frog Ranch, Skinwalker Ranch, know what's going on with skinwalkers in case I run into something like that during our Bigfoot investigations in those areas.
Well, Thursday, which will be over by the time you guys see this recording, I put out a show with Randy K. Manyazi, Navajo, and very knowledgeable on the subject, where we talked a little bit more about giants and skinwalkers. And I was just talking to him the other night about the skinwalker thing, and I'm like, wow, it's really amazing how there's way more skinwalkers running around the country right now than there even are Navajo. Where'd they all come from? And he just thought that was funny. He started laughing. He's like, oh, believe it or not, the skinwalkers are a very small proportion of our population. And I don't know why they all went on vacation to other parts of the country at the same time. Getting back to that area, I know one thing that we talked about last time, and we mentioned the little blue orb up there at the lake behind the Blind Frog Ranch, that you had talked to those guys there about it, and they said, oh yeah, we see those blue orbs all the time, and in fact they chase the cows around. We call them blue meanies.
Yeah, actually Skinwalker Ranch, the owners that owned them before the guy now that has the show, Brandon Fugel, he owns it now and has the show. But yeah, I think the Bartletts, I don't know. I'm sure I'm getting their names wrong. Some of the people that have owned the ranch before, they nicknamed them Blue Meanies because they chase and harass the cows. So yeah, that's what we saw. That's what we saw hovering over. And get this, the lake that we saw hovering over is called Dead Lake.
Oh, great. You know, I'm seeing a trend for all the naming of everything in this area, and it's not a positive one.
Hell's Canyon.
Yeah.
That's where
Dead
we were.
Lake,
That's where we were headed the day that
Skinwalker Ranch.
we've got the UAP and the little devil-looking creature.
And that's Sasquatch. They have to have their own canyon to hide in because all the other nasty stuff around there is too scary, so they got to get away from it. That's why they're all hiding in Sasquatch Canyon. Like, screw all this Skinwalker stuff. We're up here.
Oh,
Speaking of the
Sasquatch Canyon gets becomes the land of the lost all the time. The 12 years that we've been investigating that canyon, there's been 2 different times for 2 years one time, 3 years another time, that we couldn't get in and out of that canyon because of forest fires, floods, and rock slides that just totally block off access to the canyon. And we know this guy named Wally that has 1,000 acres at the mouth of the canyon that gave us permission to Bigfoot on his property anytime that we like. Well, it is normal. He's been there for 45 years, whatever it is, long time. Access to the canyon gets blocked off all the time because of these landslides, and so that's a normal thing. And then it takes a year or 2 for them to clean it up and get access. So I think that's one of the reasons why the Bigfoot like the area, is because there's a lot of times that people can't get in and out of there. And then when people can, if you ever get caught back in there in rain or whatever, the clay that the road's base is made out of and everything, it just sticks to your tires, and you can have the best, most chunkiest off-road tires, and it turns them into slicks. And it is so scary. Yeah, the first time Jenny's dad heard that we were going back in there and camping and stuff, he's like, "What the hell are you guys going back there in for?" He's like, "I went back there one time coyote hunting, and it rained, and I almost didn't get out." And so a lot of people won't go back to the area once they've been there, especially if they get rained on, because it gets scary, man. Yeah, when we're back in there hiking and stuff and it starts to rain, we get the hell out.
And then there's the other thing, as I understand, it's at fairly decent altitude, and if you get a big snow winter, then you're waiting till like almost fall before you can even go up there anyway.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure they like that. Well, it's much the same in my favorite area over here in Montana, where it's only accessible from a pass that they close during the winter. So there's only really about 5 months of the year that you can actually drive up there. The rest of the year, it's just you can't get there. That's assuming that the weather would allow you to get there, but yeah.
Well, you got a great area, man. That one video that I did a breakdown of that Bigfoot wood knocking, that was just amazing. And unless someone else can provide a link or whatever, I believe that Duke and his fellow investigator have captured the first most clear footage of a Bigfoot in the act of wood knocking. They walk off, and the last guy trailing behind with his camera, all of a sudden there's this big old wood knock, and he actually has the camera aimed in the direction of the Bigfoot that did the knock, and he captures it accidentally, and you see the Bigfoot moving around, and then whap, and then right after the Bigfoot hits the tree with its club or whatever it's using, it kind of ducks down a little bit to look through a window of opening of the foliage in the trees, and looks at those guys, and you get a perfect view of its face and head and everything, and it looks like it had to kind of duck down to look, and then it's probably like, oh crap, I don't think it knew that who was it that filmed it?
Eric.
I don't think they knew that Eric was there. I think that Bigfoot thought that the whole group was off 100 yards further when it did the wood knock, and then it looks, and I'm pretty sure it was like, oh shit, because it only looked for a second or two, and then it goes back into cover. So yeah, you guys, that is awesome. You guys captured a Bigfoot in the act of wood knocking. There is no question in my mind any longer that Bigfoot wood knocks. It does. It did. It got caught on video doing it.
Rocky Mountain Sasquatch. I am taking a close look at Bigfoot captured on video in a part of Montana with a lot of Bigfoot sightings. Some are very aggressive too. I first saw the video on World Bigfoot TV about a year ago. The video title is A Closer Look, Real Sasquatch Caught on Video Ducks for Cover. Duke from World Bigfoot TV reached out to me and asked if I would enlarge and zoom the section where the Bigfoot was captured to use for his presentation at the Nebraska Bigfoot Conference. This part of the clip, there are at least 3 different subjects or creatures in the cover watching Duke, Eric, and their expedition group. I won't point them all out to you. You can see if you can identify them yourself. What I want to show you is the money shot. What appears to be the largest of the 3 looks directly at Eric through an opening in the thick brush after doing a wood knock. You should watch the full video. I will link it in the description. The expedition group is investigating a large suspect Bigfoot structure complex. As the group walks off, this large Bigfoot wood knocks, then looks directly at Eric. You see a lot of movement, but right after it knocks, it looks right through a window of clearing, and briefly you get to see most of its domed head, eyes, massive brown ridge, and nose. What an amazing capture on video of a giant Montana Bigfoot. This Bigfoot appears to be grayish black in color, just like the one my son and I saw in Bear Wallow of the Uinta Mountains after tracking it for several hours. We saw it briefly while it was running through a small gap in the trees. It was the same color as this one. This is an amazing capture by Duke's group of a Bigfoot on camera. Hope you enjoyed. Keep on watching. We're going to keep on squatching.
So make sure that you're kind to everyone. Safety first, last, and always. Pay it forward. Don't be mean to people if you don't have to be. Don't flip off the mountain giant. Don't poke Dogman with a stick. Don't punt the puckwudgie. And for God's sake, whatever you do, do not hug the Wookiee.